Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. So I'm Sakshi. Good afternoon. So I'm going to start the class. You can mute yourself. And Alok, can I request you to make me co-host?
सैलरी नहीं आएगी तो वैसे
महेश
सवाल है
म्यूट कर लो अपने आप को. So I'm beginning the class, and today the subject that we are going to study is action research. And over a period of time, action research has almost become synonymous with organization development. So, what is action research? So, action research is inquiry or research in the context of focused efforts to improve the quality of a practice. So, normally what happens is that when we do research, we make a document, get a PhD degree, and then it lies somewhere. Maybe a couple of people might take interest in it and refer to it here and there. But action research in organization development means that, it's on a very focused subject that we are trying to research in order to find out data, to be able to diagnose correctly, and thereby to be able to take planned action in order to improve the quality of whatever we are doing, to improve the organization. Yeah. Action research involves the process of actively participating in an organization change situation. I'm switching off my video if you don't mind. Action research model involves the process of participating in an organization change while conducting research. I've explained this to you. Action research model most widely used model for bringing about organizational change by an external consultant. The purpose of action research is to learn through action that then leads on to personal or professional development. Action research has the potential to generate genuine and sustained improvements in school, organizations, and individuals. Any questions so far? So, wherever you have questions, please stop me. I think the title itself is very indicative that it is research which is meant to analyze a particular situation so that we can take action in order to improve that particular practice, process, or organizational problem. Action research creates knowledge based on inquiries conducted within specific and often practical contexts. Example, in school education system. So we do a systematic inquiry by teachers or other individuals in an organization setting, educational setting, to gather information about and subsequently improve the ways their particular educational setting operates, how they teach, and how well their students learn. So this is an example of how action research can be used in education. Now, what is AR? is designed and conducted by practitioners who analyze the data, improve their own practice. Action research can be done by individuals or by teams or colleagues. The approach is called collaborative inquiry or PAR, which is participative action research. So, action research is generally and genuinely a democratic or non-coercive practice. And participatory action research involves all relevant parties in actively examining together the current action which they experience as problematic in order to change it and improve it. See, how I will contrast this line is with supposing an organization wants to do research in terms of finding out why some people are more engaged and some people of a particular cadre are less engaged. So what do? There are many ways of approaching this research. Now, we can hire an external consultant and decide in the C-suite what are the questions that are going to be asked. So supposing you are doing to find out the engagement level of deputy general managers across the organization. So you can hire an external consultant, a big one, and then you can tell them that this is the problem. And then what they do is that they find out they design the questionnaire and then you conduct it. अब प्रोसेस देखिए आप क्या होगा? How are your deputy general managers going to perceive this situation? So the deputy general manager will greet it with lot of suspicion. First, in the organization, there will be a lot of discussion. Why only deputy general managers? Why not general managers? Why not EDs? Why not CMDs? Why not senior managers? Why not juniors? And what will they feel? They will not feel good about it. They will feel that this is an auditing function which the organization is carrying out on us, singling us out of all the cadres and carrying it out. On the contrary, supposing we had to engage the deputy general managers also in a discussion and ask them that how do they perceive the working of the deputy general managers across the organization and what can we do about it? Then the deputy general managers feel involved in the process. They will tell you how to go about it and they will participate without feeling resentful and give you authentic answers. So therefore, it is very important as per action research to involve the parties who are actively examining the current situation which they experience as problematic in order to change it and improve it. I hope I could bring out the differences to you between the two processes. They do this by critically reflecting on the historical, political, cultural, economic, geographic, and other relevant contexts. It aims to be active team research by and for those to be helped. it cannot be used by one group of people to get another group of people to do what they think is best for them. Because we are all adults and we know what is best for us. Now, why action research? Action research gives educators new opportunities to reflect and assess their teaching in the educational system, in the organizations. For example, it can be how managers are leading their teams, or AR can be to explore and test out new ideas, methods, material. In organizations, it can be to explore different methods of working to be more productive, to assess how effective the new approaches were, to assess impact of new changes introduced in the system, to share feedback with fellow team members, and to make decisions about which new approaches to include in the practice. So, I'm summarizing and I'm saying that AR is participatory, it is from within and not from an external expert eye. Like, I think day before yesterday, I got a call from one organization. And they were asking me, they were telling me, we have engaged this very high up consultants to do and to find out what is the problem with this particular cadre. So, ma'am, tell us, what is it that we need to study? So, of course, 2-3 thoughts crossed my mind. I said, then what, if I have to tell them for what we have engaged such a high up consultant paying lakhs and crores of rupees. But in any case, I'm not that, I find it difficult. So then I suggested, why don't you ask these people themselves that what engages them and what disengages them? Because someone else is conducting, someone else is asking someone else who is not even involved in that as to what needs to be done with these people. And these people are the people who need to be involved in the whole process. So, it is from within and not from an external expert's eye. And very real presences can emerge in the dynamically unfolding relations, which can teach us new ways of conducting our practices. Now, myths. It is the most logical way of doing research on societal and community issues. Sometimes it does not make sense to go to an outsider when often shaky or no knowledge of the given situation. Because what an outsider will do is they will make a few questions, they will ask a few people, and normally people within the organization are unlikely to open up to a full extent with an outsider. Whereas within themselves, they are more open, and the group which is researching also has a lot of information informally about what is happening within that group. So it is difficult to grasp the issues of a group or community by an outsider who has limited interaction with the group. So it is a myth to think that, I'm going to hire a consultant and lead the whole study onto them. It has to be hybrid. Team. Okay. When do you use action research? You use action research to solve an organizational or an educational problem and to help them to reflect on their practices, address organization-wide school problems, and when leaders and teachers want to improve their practices. So now what I want you to do is I want you to think of the organization in which you are working or in whatever setup you are working, and think of a problem which you feel needs to be addressed urgently. So can you take 5 to 7 minutes to write that down in your notebook? Your time starts now. And then we will work further on this. So please write it down little seriously. Because I will also ask you to share what you have written. So, have you finished writing? Can you share with me one by one? Let's start with Ruchi. Okay, Soumya is. Yes, Soumya, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm working for an academic firm, and as you have told to write, so I've written 2 points which I face that is required, is place where required that attention is required. Am I audible?
Very, very clearly.
Okay, ma'am. So the first point which I feel is required is to be looked on up is related to the proper flow of instruction, which is absent and which results in poor and inefficient outcomes. And second thing which I feel is unplanned and illogical tasks which abruptly arise and which hampers the current flow of ongoing important tasks. So these are the 2 things which I have felt happens in our organization.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Soumya. Then who is coming next? Then to I'll start with names. Ruchi, can you please share? Ruchi, are you there? I don't think she's there. Mahesh?
Ma'am, I'm running on a call. Can I just take 2 minutes and explain?
Have you written or not?
I am actually running on an office call. I'll just take 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Sakshi, have you written? Sakshi bhi nahi hai. Gurmail, have you written?
Yes, madam. Actually, I'm working as an operational head in a housing finance company. Please pardon my bad voice. I've got a congested throat.
Cold.
The point of concern I have noted is low cross-functional involvement and expertise existing in the company. That requires some research on that.
Okay, very good. Shiv Shankar Thakur. Shiv Shankar, are you there? Okay, he's also not there. Then Chandralekha. Not there. Durga, are you there? Okay. So Durga is also not here. Okay. So the first thing we do is we narrow down and we define our problem. Like you have done, and then we move forward and we write down that where are you right now with regard to the problem, where do you want to be, and how are you going to get there. So we won't do this right away, but just note these questions because you're going to be soon working on these questions. So I think we have 2 people in the group, Gurmail and Soumya. So Soumya and Gurmail. Now, the steps in action research. So the first thing is that we collect, but we first define a problem, then we reflect on the problem, that is define the problem, identify it in terms of where am I, where would I like to go, gather data, interpret the data, evaluate the results, and act on the evidence. Now, when we act on the evidence, what happens is that we realize and we come to know that I was thinking like this, but probably I need to slightly modify it, or some other issues may come out in the process, and therefore we will have to, for the new thing that comes up, go through this whole cycle again. That's why you see this diagram is iterative in process, and it is like one step leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, till the final change has occurred or happened. And that's why action research is an iterative process. Then we look at identifying the problem. Now, the process begins when you identify a question or problem you want to address. And like you did just now, so that you are asking, you're sure that the questions you're asking are the ones you want to solve. Otherwise पता चला कि आपने रिसर्च किसी और चीज पे करी और उसको करना कुछ और था. This could be improvement you want to see happen in your classroom, or a problem you and your colleagues would like to address in your district or your organization. Then the desired outcome. So the next step is you're going to take 5 minutes to write down that what is the ideal scenario that you would like to see happen. Because based on that, you are going to frame your methodology of research and your questionnaire. So right now you have written a problem statement. Now what you have to write is your desired outcome. Exactly what you want to see happen. So you can choose questions which are within the context of your work area. Correct. So please write down what outcome you desire to see. Gurmail and Soumya, can I request you to do that? Take 5 minutes.
We have to write outcome. That means that if I'm having problem with the proper flow of instruction, then my desired outcome would be.
Here by desired outcome we means is that what you desire to see happen at the end of your research and action taking process.
Yes, ma'am.
Soumya, have I made my...
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Vicky,
Done, ma'am.
Full. Okay. So, would you like to share?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, as per me, the problems were that there's improper flow of instruction is not there, and unplanned and illogical tasks were there, which abruptly arise and hampers the ongoing flow of important tasks. And my desired outcome is or would be that the programs would be pre-planned, which will be having great efficiency and more success in them, containing them. And second outcome would be that for a planned thing, after having a planned thing, we would be having a prioritized task list, which will enable the organization to reach and fulfill the actual mission of the organization. So these are my desired outcomes.
Okay. So the second one is fine. The first one, Soumya,
Yes, ma'am.
just read it once more to me.
The first one is that pre-planned programs with great efficiency and success would be there. The programs would be-
So, 1 minute. So, pre-planned programs with great efficiency. Hai na?
Yes, ma'am.
So, my questions to you would be, which programs are you talking of in particular? Because an institution would have several programs. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, if you can define that, huh?
Yes, ma'am. There's such programs such as that. See, every organization has some annual calendars, some annual list of tasks which are being predefined there, and for which proper set of instructions are being also given that this to be have to be done under so and so, and this has to be done under so and so. But while we are doing things under some assigned person or some authority, suddenly what happens that currently we are focusing on 2-3 you can say programs, suddenly a new program jumps into it, and the boss calls us randomly that come, we are having a quick meeting, and so has to be done, and tomorrow only, and the deadline is tomorrow only, or the deadline is day after tomorrow only. Then at that time things go so numb that we are already working on 3 modules in which the set of instructions are already not clear, and then this new thing has came up which has to be fulfilled on the very deadline on which other 2 things are also aligned. So this clearly disturbs the whole flow, and other things which we are already doing are more important than this current thing which is coming. So we think that, does the boss knows this thing or not, that whatever he or she is bringing to us is less important than whatever we have to deliver at the end of this deadline. So this brings very ambiguity in the program and confusion.
Right, absolutely. So this is the part which you need to write. That the planned, schedule and unplanned programs which come in between and become an emergency or an urgency which upset the previous schedule and prevent focused attention on the ongoing activities. है ना? Energy dissipate हो जाती है ना?
Energy dissipates, it creates confusion because the new task is already very much new to us, and for that the instructions are very limited, very less. So those things create sense of difficulty.
Absolutely. So this needs to be specified. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then also greater efficiency. So in greater efficiency, you need to define that what you mean by efficiency. इसको quantify करना होगा अपने को. Okay. This was only by way of giving an explanation. Gurmail, you'd like to share or?
Yes, madam. Actually,
Yes.
the point I had mentioned was low cross-functional involvement and expertise. And the desired outcomes would be seamless support between different functions and versatile staff who can be switching tasks as per shop floor priorities. Third is wider span of supervision for supervisors, and then a cohesive teamwork. These are the desired outcomes I could think of.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gurmeet. Wonderful. And so, Soumya, thank you so much. So this is how we need to make this statement, that what we want to see happen in the end. Okay. So I'm moving on. Where were we? Yeah. So we have identified the problem area, and the question should not end in yes and no, and it should not be that it is something which already has an answer, because organizations में बहुत बार हम उसी चीज को रिसर्च करते रहते हैं जिसका आंसर है. For instance, I was working in a system. How much did you earn? What was the expenditure? What is the surplus? You have given it today, then the same data you are giving to some XYZ person tomorrow, then the same data you are calculating and giving to XYZ, to the third person in the organization, to the fourth person, and 10 days will go by, and this is the only work that you are able to do. And the answer is already there. Now, how many people want this data? So, now, after you determine the questions, determining the question which you have done, then you conduct a review of literature. The web, as you know, has made it much easier than before. Abstracts, citations, research papers are all available. For anything we say Google, and the answer is there. So collect as much information on your problem as you can, both through formal sources, informal sources. Now, as you explore existing literature, you will certainly find solutions and strategies that others have implemented to solve this problem. And then you can create a visual map or a table of your problems and target performances with a list of potential solutions and supporting citations in the middle. And then we develop a plan of action. So having identified the problem, describe your vision on how you successfully want to solve it, and reviewed the literature, you need to develop a plan of action. What is it that you intend to do? Brainstorming and reviewing the literature should have provided you with ideas for new techniques and strategies you think will produce better results. Refer back to your visual map or table and color coded or recorder for your potential solution. Then you will want to rank them in order of importance and indicate the amount of time you will need to spend on these strategies. Then make a smart action plan. Smart action plan, all of you know. So if you want me to say it, I can say it. Otherwise, you can tell me what is making a smart action plan. So you know or you don't know?
Some smart action plan would be like, first we have identified what is the problem. Now, what are the steps which are actually required for getting it done? Those are the smart action plan.
So it's specific, measurable, how do you know that it has happened? Achievable. So in your case, how will you know, Sakshi? When people stop disturbing you in the middle of a project. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. When I would start getting a pre-planned and prioritized list that so things have done.
It doesn't change
Yes, ma'am.
from moment to moment.
Or if change at a proper time, you can say with the proper. You can say.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
So this is SMART. S is equal to specific. M is equal to measurable. A is equal to achievable. And R is equal to realistic. Is okay? And T stands for that you have a time bound. Otherwise, it's not unending. That it is this planned change is going to end in this time frame. Is okay? Now clear?
Completely.
So once you have a clear vision of a potential solution to the problem, explore factors you think that might be keeping you and your students from your vision of success. We did that last time. We explored through Kurt Lewin's method that what are the hindering factors and what are the facilitating factors. And focus your attention on the variables, the parts of the formula you believe your actions can impact. Develop a plan that shows how you will implement your solution and how your behavior management style and instruction will address each of these variables. Sometimes an action research cycle simply helps you identify variables you weren't even aware of, so you can better address your problems during the next cycle. So maybe the people who are calling for these emergency meetings are not even aware of the fact that this is the kind of chaos they are creating in the system. So when they do a survey of how to improve productivity, then these kind of data come where people then begin to talk of or so now obviously there are various ways of collecting our data. Would someone like to read it out? That what are the ways of collecting data?
No, ma'am. So there are many like interviews, diaries, field notes, photos, questionnaires, anecdotal records, checklists, journals, individual files, logs of meetings, case studies, surveys, records.
This is not difficult to understand. And before you begin to implement your act, sorry.
Ma'am, what was that anecdotal thing?
Anecdotes, like you just told me, what you told me was an anecdote.
Okay.
अभी तुमने बताया ना मैं कुछ काम कर रही होती हूँ और प्लान शेड्यूल होती है उसके बीच में मुझे बुला लिया जाता है और ये वो है इमरजेंसी बन जाती है, ये जो इतनी मेहनत हम लोग करते हैं वो सब एक साइड हो जाती है, फिर ये नई चीज पे करते रहो, फिर यही नहीं पता है कि ये करना है वो करना है, वो पता नहीं स्किल सेट में है या नहीं है, फिर उसको एक्वायर करने के लिए मेहनत कर. दिस वाज एन एनेक्डोट,
Okay.
right? Like stories, like little stories, छोटे incidents. So before you begin to implement your plan of action, you need to determine what data will help you understand if your plan succeeds and how you will collect that data. क्योंकि efficiency होती है ना data को collect करने की, कि questionnaire help करेगा या focus group discussion help करेगा, या observation help करेगा. What helps? Your target performances will help you determine what you want to achieve, what results or other indicators will help you know if you achieved it. For example, if your goal is improved attendance, data can easily be collected from your attendance records. If the goal is increased time on task, the data may include classroom and student observations. There are many options for collecting data. Choosing the best methodology for collecting information will result in more accurate, meaningful, and reliable data. So, obvious sources of data include observation and interviews. Observe and type or write notes or dictate your observations into a cell. Keep a journal during the process as you collect data. Reflective journals are often used as a source of data for action research. Collect meaningful data from other records you deal with daily, including attendance logs, grade reports, and student portfolios. Distribute questionnaires, watch videotapes of your classroom, and administer surveys. Example of students' employees' work are also performances you will evaluate to see if your goal is being met. Then, if you're going to interview, how many times are you going to interview? At what time of the day are you going to interview? How will you ensure your respondents are representative of the student population you are studying, including gender, ability, level, experience, and expertise? Your plan will help you ensure that you have collected data from many different sources. Each source of data provides additional information that will help you answer the questions in your research plan. You may also want to have students collect data on their own learning. Not only does this provide you with additional research assistance, it empowers students to take control of their own learning. As students keep a journal during the process, they are also reflecting on the learning environment and their own learning process. Then analyze the data and form conclusions. And then he's saying that be quick to examine your data. And then he's saying ki saath, as you're collecting data, sometimes what we do is we wait for all the data to come. Then we think we will put it together. No, don't do that, because then it becomes so overwhelming that it becomes a huge task. And did you achieve the outcomes you were hoping for? Were you able to carry out the actions as planned? Were any of your assumptions about the problem correct? That's important. And action research is an iterative process. I've already told you this before. And this is how it happens, that you act, you observe, you act, you reflect, and then you make a plan, and then you get more data, more observation points, and then you can move forward. Then report the findings. Keep reporting the findings as you go along. It depends on whom you need to report: the students, parents, teachers, principals. Provide an overview of the process and share highlights from your research journal. Many times we give so much of data, or please help me in my research, please fill this monkey form, monkey survey. And then after that, what happened to our data? None of us. So, tips to write an abstract. Write an abstract first, state the problem you were trying to solve, describe your context, detail your action plan and methods, summarize your findings, state your conclusions. Okay. So now what I want you to do is I want you to work in, I think there are only two of you here, Soumya and Gurmeet. Am I right? Soumya, Gurmeet? Is there anybody who is here? I doubt it. Okay. So, both of you, if I were to put you in a group, Alok, are you there? Alok is not there. I don't think he has made me host either.
Ma'am, we can discuss here only as two of us are only there.
So you do one thing, yeah, I'll do that. I'll switch off my mic and stop the video, and you freely discuss amongst yourselves. And what you have to do is that based on these steps, you have to decide theoretically that what are broadly the questions which need to be asked. How are you going to plan the action research to make recommendations vis-a-vis the problem? Don't take both, take only one, overwhelming one, and just plan your study. So it will take you about 10 minutes per person, and just do a paper exercise on how you can sharpen your desired outcome, how you can concretize it, what is the outcome that you want to see after you have conducted the study. On the basis of that, plan what research methodology, interviews, ye wo itni sari cheezein, which will be the best way to capture the data, and then who are the people whom you're going to inform, and once you have conducted the study. I think that's about all you can do over here. What are the suggested action plans can only come after you have seen the data. But based on your experience, if you want to suggest one or two, there should be no problem with that. Is it okay? Can you do this, Soumya, Gurmail?
Okay, right, madam.
So I'm just going to switch off and my video as well as my this thing, and you can freely discuss. I'm not listening to you.
Hi, Gurmain.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we have to work on this abstract thing, right? The first point is state the problem you were trying to solve. Okay.
So I think the first task after that is to, what Madam said, sharpen the outcome we desire, concretize it, maybe give some quantifiable parameters to it.
Yes, actually, what we have to do is first we have to note down that what is the actual problem that we have to address. So your problem was something cross-functional thing you were saying, no?
My problem was low cross-functional involvement and expertise.
Yes, and mine
We
was,
can work on that, or we can work on yours one, because working on one would be better.
okay, we can work on yours. Mine was already solved by her. We can work on yours. So yours is limited cross-functional involvement, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
So
expertise also.
yes. And so next thing was describe your context. Next thing is, so you have to little bit describe it more. कि और क्या होता है? What else is the thing which happens with this limitation? Gurmil,
actually, it is that because of that limited cross-functional involvement, all the things that we see, departments working at cross purposes, people are unable to stand in for each other, and then different departments are unable to appreciate each other's priorities and you can say action plans, that kind of things.
yes.
Because everybody has his or her own action plan and target for the year, and it is taken more or less as independent.
Yes. Let me write it somewhere.
I would suggest that we can start out with having, you can say, defining out the number of departments a person should be versatile in. It can be 2 or 3 like that.
Right.
And then there can be an action plan for that, maybe after 1 year or 2 years, so many people will be having expertise in 3 departments or 2 departments, as we decided in the first point. And that is about the concretizing of the outcome.
Actually, as per the recent slide which ma'am
Research
showed.
methodology, we can.
Currently, what you are discussing is your action plan and method, right?
I think I just defined the actual outcome. What we say, we defined it a bit more sharply. The action plan comes after that. How do we, what research methodology we use? What are the questions to be asked? All those things, they will start later of that. And methodology can be, we can have a question for the employees themselves, then another question for the supervisors, and another for the shop heads. Because these are the normally people involved at different levels of, you can say, cross-functional needs. Employee normally has needs for one function only, then the supervisor may have need for 2 or 3 functions, and the shop in charge may have to take care of all the functions. So that can be done. And depending on that, the functionalities that can be combined, they can be decided. Because it may not be realistic to have a person having all the expertise in each of the functions. That may take a very long time. It may not be time bound also.
Okay. So, Gurmil, here one question is coming in my mind that the problem itself says that there is a limitation of cross-functional expertise and involvement. And if here we introduce
yes.
the methodology of adopting each other's roles or skill sets, don't you think this is quite like conflicting?
No, not roles. Actually, what I mean by saying methodology is what are the questions we draft for that? One is we ask the employees themselves, what are the things that are stopping them? Then the supervisors and then the shop in charge. Of course, they would be more inclined towards defining what should be there.
Right.
So those two things can be seen in tandem to find a common ground and have a reasonable result time frame for that.
Yes.
Because supposing in the shop there are 5 functions involved, we may have a decision that okay, after 2 years everybody will be having working knowledge of 3 functions at least. That kind of decision can be taken.
Right.
That actually is what I would say the research part only.
Yes.
Of course, how to go about it, that comes in the next stage maybe.
Next, we have to go for like what we have found. We have after all these things, we would be able to have some data, now that what is the problem and what we have found after questionnaires and reports and feedbacks. We would be having some data with us, which
Yes,
will
yes.
reflect towards the kind of data that we are having. Right? Sorry, which will reflect towards the kind of problem we are having. We can say that would be a raw.
And that may throw light on the reasons also.
Pardon?
I think that data will throw light on the reasons also. And
Yes, yes.
that data will throw light on the reasons also, and then it will point to the solution. That
Yeah,
the reasons have to be addressed, and
pointed
then ways
towards
have
the
to be found to
solution.
address them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think the recommendations can accordingly be drafted after that, depending on the findings data.
Yes, and then lastly, we have to go for the conclusion. Conclusion would be
Oh yes,
outcome.
the conclusion. That would be the recommendations to how to reach the desired goal from the present position. What I can see is that with the kind of thing it is, it may involve recommending some cross-functional training courses or some job rotation also, maybe changes in the appraisal system to provide proper weightage for cross-functional working, that kind of things.
Or we can also suggest cross-functional appointment of some cross-functional manager, or you can say appointment of some or sending them over a training of cross-functional programs, so that importance of cross-functional programs, right? So that they can understand.
Yes, so that because what I can foresee is the first thing, if we get a questionnaire from the people is they will say we don't know the other job. So the first thing has to be they have to give inputs on more than one function, then the other expectations can be spelled out.
Right. I guess my question, after knowing complete problems of yours, I guess my question and my problem and your problem is almost the same. You are stating the problem from the point of view of a head of organization, and I am stating my problem from the point of view of a worker. I guess both of us are having almost the same problem from different point of view.
Actually, it's only a question of perspective because I cannot come out of my job just for the sake of the class, and it keeps on. One is
Yes.
always stuck in that.
Mm.
And I think you being an HR person, you have your own perspective, and it is
No,
always
I'm not
coming
at
on
all
top
an
of your
HR.
mind. It is
I'm
only
an in-house. I'm an in-house IT trainer.
Okay.
So I'm not at all an HR, but yes, we do face
Okay.
such
Okay.
problems. Yes. So last point
Right.
is explain your revised action plan. We have done till conclusion. Last point is revised action plan. Revised action plan.
Revision actually may be possible only after further discussion, because if one person is making a plan, then making a revised plan is doesn't come very normally. Because once the recommendation is put to some committee or the management or something, then the revisions will come in. As it is, the revision presupposes a different point of view.
So under revised action plan, we can go for, like, after conducting the conclusion part, like recommending for recommendations for desired growth and cross-functional training programs, and giving them the idea of why it is required. We can again go through our action methodologies like questionnaires and reports and let them collaborate at different levels. So we can again revise this thing so that whatever conclusions we have drawn and they have gone through it, they can tell us again that actually it has worked or not. Am I correct?
Yes, because revision will be an ongoing thing only, because a single plan may not deliver all the goods.
Yes,
So
yes.
that may be required, I think, at many stages later on.
Yes. Okay, then we're done with this. I have jotted
So I
it
think
down.
that about takes care of it. Yeah.
Right. Anything else you would like to add, or this is okay?
No, I think that's more than enough.
Oh.
I think Madam is listening in. She may be able to know.
She's on mute. I don't know when she'll be back. In 5 minutes, I guess.
Yes.
Rekha ma'am, are you there? I guess we need to wait.
Yes, good mail and Soumya. Have you finished?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Who's going to share? Is okay if I switch off my video because the glare is hurting my eye.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
That's okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, ma'am, we have worked on the problem which is which was being mentioned by Gurmail sir only, related to the limitation of cross-functional involvement and expertise in organizations. And we have identified that, Gurmail, you can also join me if I lose somewhere, that there is a lack,
Yes,
lackness, or you could say in inability, or you can say less attention is given towards the cross-functional involvement of cross-functional expertise in the organization, and which is a problem. And for that, ma'am, if we talk about action plan or methodologies, then for that we can like go for questionnaires and report. We can collaborate at various levels for knowing the hindrances, and we can get a feedback on what is the limitation and what is stopping the people from getting involved their expertise cross functionally. So this is these are the first 2 points, which is identifying and then measuring the having the action plan and methodologies. And after doing this thing, action plan, we are going to have some datas, which would be our findings, which then we would be summarizing with the finding that we have a raw data now out of this questionnaires and collaboration and feedbacks. That that raw data which will be pointing towards a rough solution for us. That so things are there, and once after viewing or analyzing that data, we would be able to have a rough solution towards our problem. Then, if we are asked to conclude that what other things should be there, then the conclusion would be of recommendation of a desired for the desired growth, and would be to have some training programs, or would be to would be to have hire some training, some cross-functional managers for the implementation or for the solution of such problem. And we would also be like we would also like to have more insights with the people, that problem has been opted out, and you people are found out, and you people have to uh, involve more with this, and if this is the problem, then what else you could do further for that. That could be you could say a recommendation. And a revised action plan would be, ma'am, to recollect, first to implement our conclusion. That would be having a cross-functional manager, or going for a skill up program, or further more discussions over the problem. And then a revised action plan would be to again go move towards a recollection of data through questionnaires and feedbacks, so that certain other, if there is any other ambiguity left in order to solve this problem, would be solved out, or the method of finding, or you can say method of solving this problem, could be more improved. So this would be our revised action plan.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Very good. So, you both worked on this one only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, Gurmail, you want to add anything?
No, madam, that about sums up what we discussed. Madam was jotting me points, so everything is taken care of.
So then, of course, once we have done all these steps, we evaluate the results, and then we take follow-up action, all of which you have already stated. And then we move on to the next cycle. So this is what it looks like diagrammatically. that you identify the problem and envision success, develop an action plan, collect data, analyze the data, form conclusions, adjust the theory, and begin all over again. Sorry, you analyze the data, report the results, adjust the theory, and begin all over again. So, some suggested areas for action research in education: flexible seating in fourth grade classroom to increase effective collaborative learning, structured homework protocols for increasing student achievement, developing a system of formative feedback, using music to stimulate creative writing, like that. So, to summarize, what are the characteristics of action research? Action research is characterized by clear stages which include a consideration of research, reflection, implementation of an action for improvement to individual practice, use of data collection on action, and review of action through consideration of data. So, thank you, and this is what I wanted to share with you on action research. If there's anything you want to ask or add.
No, ma'am, that was quite inclusive and very informative.
Okay.
That was quite inclusive and very informative and a very practical approach towards. Actually, it helped me find out how to deal with these problems.
Thank you so much, Soumya. And next time we'll do appreciative inquiry. Then I'll be doing some common OD interventions with you, which are done at various levels. And the last class, I will do John Potter's model of change, which is widely accepted. Model of change. And then we will review everything that we discussed. So, okay. So, thank you. So, can we close the class?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Get
Thank you,
well
ma'am.
soon. Good mail.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, madam.